Everyone, welcome back to another 31-minute podcast. Jaxson.
Good morning.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. You can start today.
Yeah, I called you on today because I wanted to speak about addiction.
You called me on.
I called you. I wanted to do a podcast today and speak about addiction.
So you texted me last night and said, can we do one on addiction? So what's on your mind?
You would know, especially I have a very addictive personality. You do as well. And I've been gambling a lot and going out and partying, drugs. It's like the whole scene again. Like it's like I feel like I was doing very well, and then it slowly creeps back in, and then you kind of just hit the deck. Like last night was my first time training again in 2 weeks. I did the sauna again in like first time in probably 2 weeks again, and it felt okay, but it didn't feel like great, like it used to. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to try and understand how to stop it. Because I know you're like, usually you just say, just stop. But I find that very difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think you're brave. You've got to be commended for actually contacting me. And I mean, contacting me, you live in the same property as me, but it's like you reached out and I think you want to confront it in a way. And that takes a lot of bravery. So good work.
Thank you.
We haven't spoke about anything before this, apart from the other night we had a huge argument.
Yeah.
And I was yelling at you in the front yard.
Yeah.
So in the night, and it would have woken up all the neighbours.
Yeah.
So, it's a very hard thing between a father and a son because we work together. We live on the same property. You're moving out at the end of this month. And it's difficult because like there's a lot of lines get blurred. And I've always said to you, attitude's the most important thing. So, you got to, I think sometimes it can create a bit of lack of respect, I guess, sometimes because, we are close and we are together all the time. And is it work, dad, or is it home dad? And it's a very, very difficult situation.
There's a bit of a grey area sometimes with work and dad and this and that, and then but there's a lot of other factors. Like I can see myself moving into this house and putting the mortgage on the pokies, or like
Let's put it into context for people. So we bought a house across the road. You're a part owner, so we're helping you get into that house, and we've put you on. There's an element of finance. Yeah, part of it is financed, and you have a responsibility to pay your part of the mortgage. Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's, well, now it has, like thinking about it, but if it's like I understand the level of it, like I'm 25 as well. Like there's a lot of people my age that are already moved out doing this. So I guess it's kind of daunting, and I'm not sure if that's like an excuse I've used to go out and party and gamble and not care about it. Like that's like, because that's later on. But like the last few days, I'm like, what is it? September the 3rd today, in less than a month till I'm moving in. And I'm not great at saving. I'm not great with money, but I want to get there. And I feel like it's like a up and down sort of thing with me.
I think in your defense, you've never been taught.
Yeah.
I think, over the years, I've had different things. I've been to see some psychologists and things because I was a very extreme person in all different ways. And I didn't have a dad like this. My dad died when he was 47. He was an alcoholic, and he just drunk himself to death. And he never really taught me anything. Like he just sort of I don't know what the word is, like emotionally abused me the whole time. And I used to go sit with these psychologists when I was probably your age. Like I really wanted to work my life out, and I just didn't gel with them though. Like I've got some pretty deep scars from life, and I've been through a lot, but I would listen to them. They'd say, "Oh, tell me about your childhood," and I'd sit there and say, "What's my childhood got to do with anything?" Like seriously. And one lady was, she goes, "Oh, go back to when your first memory was," or something. And I was there, and I had a panic attack, and full panic attack, and ended up on the floor, like in this. I don't know what happened. Like it just went. It was very traumatic, but I don't know what it was all about. And I used to think, I don't want to talk about my childhood. It wasn't. Well, I think everyone's got different things in life that are traumatic, and I'm no one different than anybody else. Everyone's got their story. It's a great thing. Everyone's got a book inside of them. But I think if we look at you got to join the dots a little bit. So, but it doesn't mean that is. It doesn't mean that your past is your future. That's one thing that I've definitely learned. Your environment, I think, contributes to who you are, but your choices make who you are. And that's the thing that I've really learned over time. But you're sitting here talking to a 52-year-old man and you're a 25-year-old man, and I think you've had a very tricky childhood. Like your mum and I broke up with your mum when you were 5 years old or something. Divorce does not make or break people. I think in a way it can give people a different perspective on things like kids and things like that. But with anything in life, it's what you do with it. But when you're a kid, you don't know what to do with it because you're just running around. But your mum was too soft and wanted to be your friends, and I was too hard and wanted you to be the best person you could be. And so you had this, and I couldn't have you guys every second week. So when your mum and I broke up, we tried this every second weekend thing. But I said to her, I can't do this. I can't not see the kids for 2 weeks. So you were with me and Shelley for 3 days each week. So like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, like each week. And so you got to live with me half the week and your mum half the week. What was your environment when you were a kid with your mum?
Kind of just whatever we wanted. Yeah, like you could just woke up whenever, I went to bed whenever. There was a bedtime, sort of. Yeah. But yeah,
there was a lot of you.
It was. I was actually talking about this a few days ago. Like, it was just like we just ran amok in the morning before Mum got up, and then we packed our own lunches. Mum had to lock the fridge because we'd raid it and like eat everything out of it.
And she was very young.
She was herself. Yeah, she was young.
So she was like a young person growing up, just as you guys were growing up.
She would have been like, what, 25?
She was 18 when I first met her. So then I think you came along at like 19.
Yeah.
I think she fell pregnant almost the first time we had sex.
Probably. Yeah. Well.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And then your house was like, it was like we had different freedoms sort of thing. Like at your house, we could ride our bikes to Gosford and home and it'd be fine. But we had to be home at a certain time, bed at a certain time, sit around the table to eat dinner with everyone. It was more structured, and mum's rules, I actually can't even remember them, to be fair, if I'm thinking about them now. But it was just two very different households.
And that's what I mean. And not to say this is better than that, but because I mean, I'd made lots of mistakes, and I'm sure your mum made lots of mistakes. But I think you grew up in a very confusing world. Like it was, what's right, what's wrong, and then your nan was that again. Like your nan was just showering with love, as nans do, and like at nans, it's just like, here, have all the chocolate you want, and have all the ice cream you want, and just have fun. Like, so you had all this 3 different worlds going on. And your nan and pop were very involved in your lives as well. So they were like the glue between your mum and I. But if you look at that, like what you were growing up, and then you sort of get to a point where all of a sudden, and school, do you remember school? And
Partly.
You got to year 9 and then started year 10 and you said, I don't want to go anymore. I said, Jaxson, you got to finish it. Just finish what you start. I don't rate school very highly at all, and I'm pretty easygoing with, just get through school. Like I don't think school's going to make you successful at all, but you started it, so finish it. And I said to you, just finish it. Just get to year 10 and then we'll decide what you want to do after that. But you didn't. You just wouldn't listen. And then in the end, you left like halfway through the year.
Yeah.
But you never finished it. And there's something about finishing stuff, whether you want to do it or not. You don't have to finish everything in life. But it's sort of like I saw it as, especially with school, like that's a pretty important chunk in your life. Just get to the end. Because there's a bit of self-worth, I think, that gets attached to, oh, I did that. Whereas if you're just like, oh, whatever, you sort of, that becomes a bit of a habit in life where there's a great saying, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And it's like the ice bath this morning was very difficult for me for some reason because it was windy as all hell. It was freezing. And I don't know. And I got to like halfway through and I started thinking about the time. But I'm like, no, I finished it so many other times before. I'm finishing it. And I was a bit shaking in there. And it doesn't always happen like that. You sort of have different responses at different times. But there's something about, I've finished that before, so I'm going to finish it again. So when you sort of let yourself off with things, that can create a bit of a habit, where, oh, it doesn't matter, don't worry about it, like that sort of attitude. And I really fought with you on that. I was like, Jaxson, just finish year 10, mate. And then you ended up just not going. And then I was like, okay, fair enough. And then you sort of grew up and progressed. And I was always, and we didn't talk for 2 years.
Yeah, a few times.
Did we?
I think there was like two or three different occasions.
Not for 2 years. You're not that old.
No, I know.
I didn't even, it was from about 17 and a half to about 19.
Yeah.
We just didn't talk. And whether that was right, wrong, or indifferent, I just had enough of you. And you were just the biggest pain in the world, drugging, drinking, and I didn't know what to do with you. And I was like, well, if that's, and you decided you were living at your nan's and you were just like, the attitude was out of control. And I said, well, just go do your thing then. I got to that point. That was probably bad parenting, but I didn't know what.
I feel like I needed it though.
You did.
Yeah.
Well, when I say you did, you had to work out your own path. And that's sort of at the moment what I do with you a little bit as a dad. It's you've got to grow into the man that you want to become because what you feel in your heart, I can't see. So when people are driven in a certain direction, they have to go that way. So like they have to find their own path and that's how you learn. So that's why I let you just do your thing and sort of said, well, unless you're going to have attitude, like a reasonable attitude and show a certain level of respect, well, I can't really do much with you. Like as in, I'm not going to be, because you were lying, you were stealing, you were doing all sorts of things. It was getting out of control. Like you were living at your nan and pops and you're stealing stuff from them.
Yeah, I stole from everyone.
Everyone, you were working with me at the time just right before that and then you just wouldn't send things through. We'd do some filming or you do a job for people or get shots or whatever. You just wouldn't send them through.
Yeah.
So I actually sacked you.
But I'd send the invoice and I'd tell them to send me the money and then just never do the job. That's right. I remember I used to like sit outside petrol stations texting you. I was just this one time texting you like, hurry up, pay me, like need my money. It was like $1,000 or something for a small job. I overcharged as well. And then I'd just go in and buy cigarettes or go buy beer and go buy this. It was just like I felt like it was like I was a homeless person bumming around for money just to get off my head sort of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, fast forward, then you went door knocking, you sold shutters and all these sorts of things and door to door, which I think taught you a whole lot of stuff. And then after a couple of years, you contacted me and said, I want to sort things out and get on with life. And we, not straight away, took a while, but then we ended up working together again. And now we're sort of here, and I think you do really well for a while and then you get and you've got to live your life though. This is the most important thing. You've got to you're not Matt Steinwade, you're not John McGrath, you're not Tony Robbins, you're not none of these people. You're Jaxson Steinwade. And you're put on this earth with special gifts and talents. Everybody is. And as your dad, I look at you and I'm like, is he passionate about what he's doing and is he on the right path the best he can? Because a parent's job is not to force their will on somebody, but it's to give them guidance for short. But you can't give people guidance unless they want it, and there's a really good saying that people will do in private what they're really passionate about. And it's true. So I can't make you. If I try and make you do what you want to do, you'll get to a point where you won't want to do anything anymore and you'll say, nah, this is not for me and whatever. You try and do something you're not passionate about for a long period of time.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
That's when I did fire alarms. I did fire alarms. That was like, I remember because it was when you offered me the job. All day I was thinking about like, oh, what can I shoot? What can I do? And because you just literally go there, change the battery, take a photo, test it, and then clean the air conditioning filter and go back to the next house all day. And I hated it. It was the worst. Like working a job that you don't like is the worst. I couldn't do it.
Exactly. And my dad made me be a fridge mechanic when I was young. See, all my family were electricians. My dad, my pop, my uncle, everyone was electricians. The whole forever since like 1800 and something. When I don't know the date, but when the first guy that came out to Australia from Germany, he was an electrician. They were all electricians. And I said to my dad one day, I don't want to be an electrician because he was like making me go for a job at the council and stuff. This like Sydney City Council, which was like the electricity thing. And I was sitting there in this like hall. So I went year 10 and then everyone got a trade back then when I was a kid, most people. And then I was in this hall with hundreds of other kids doing this exam to try and be in the electricity commission. And I was sitting there thinking, I have no interest in being in this. I don't even know what I'm doing here. But my dad was like, you got to be an electrician. I said one day, I don't want to be an electrician. I want to be a pro surfer, not an electrician. And he said, well, you have to move out, get out of the house. And I'm like, why? He said, well, unless you get a trade, you can't live here. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be an electrician. So he made me go and be a refrigeration mechanic. And I remember working in the roofs of pubs and all this thinking, surely this is not what life is about. Like I have no interest in doing this. But I finished it. I did the full 4 years of apprenticeship. I didn't like any of it. Like I was dirty. I was like, but I just did it, right? That's all I knew. But see how environment affects things. Like your environment definitely affects your path in life. And it's good and bad, whatever it is. But with you, ever since you were young, you and Logan, ever since Logan was 5 and you were like, what have you been, 8 or 9?
Yeah.
You always had this ability with a camera. Like you give you a camera, you take these shots. I'm like, how did you take that? You're like, I don't know, I just took it. And all your shots were just amazing. And I'm like, this kid's got a gift and talent. I can see it. As a parent, you sort of look through more spiritual eyes as your kids rather than physical in a way, because it's like I can see into your soul, I can see into your energy. And I was like, that kid just put a camera in his hand and you just make magic happen. And I don't know, I've never really, I always knew that you had this sort of thing, but you had to find it. And if back then you used to get up for earlies, we used to be a little team, we used to go and take pictures and film and, and you used to be like, oh, that's so sick. You used to be so pumped and I could see it. But as you got older, you started to like do other things.
I let drugs and partying take over sort of thing.
You did. And I used to say to you, Jack, just spend an hour a day behind the camera and you'll be an expert as you get older. Just an hour a day. That's all you need to do. And you did it, like to your credit, you created so much footage, it's out of control, like amazing, but you had to find your own way.
Yeah.
So why I'm saying that now is still today, if you look at what you do in private, you film, the other day you walked in, Dad, I've got this amazing, you got this aerobatic drone thing. Yeah. And you walked in, you're doing that in private. You go, look what I got, look what this and that. And even, you go water shooting and this and that. It's, albeit without Logan these days, but you're still out there doing your thing,
Yeah.
And that's sort of how you can gauge your passion. When someone talks about it, their face lights up or they're doing it in private, they just want to be good at it. And I think you found that space. I do. Just looking at you, I mean, you could prove me wrong and, a year's time you could be singing in some corporate job somewhere but I don't think so. I don't think so.
No.
But you've got this other thing which we're going to talk about, and I have one the same. And I don't know. I can talk about addiction because I think I know a lot about it. I've overcome different parts, and I've really wrestled with it. My sister died from addiction. She killed herself. Logan died. My sister's son died. He killed himself at 14, hung himself from a tree. and my dad drunk himself to death. So I really understand, and I don't know if it's genetic or not. I don't know, because my sister's daughter. So my sister had 2 kids. Her name's Madison. She would be, I don't know, what's Madison, 30 now or something. She's phenomenal. So she's not addicted to anything. She's, I think she works for Emirates, or she could have changed now, but she's a great young woman. I don't spend enough time with her, but great young woman.
Bit of a phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So if you look at you 4 kids, you have this tendency. Paris has the tendency. Phoenix is like from another planet. He's one of the most intelligent men I've ever met in my life. He's like a man mountain. He's an athlete. He's doing cybersecurity at university. He's not addicted to anything, And then you've got Logan. So, and then Jet and Tiana, your other 2 from Richie. So your mum got married 3 times. And I think Jet doesn't have any addictions by the looks, maybe on and off a little bit, but not as deep. But then Tiana seems to be, swinging away through life as well. But that's another story. So if we look at you guys, is it genetic?
I feel like it'd be easy to blame it on genetics.
Yeah. And look, I might say some things here that people don't agree with. That's fine. We're just talking between you and I. But I don't know that it's actually genetic. I think you might have some traits, some focus traits, because I think addiction is nothing more than intense focus. That's what I think it is. And that can be given that way or that way.
Yeah.
And there's an awesome saying, an Indian saying, which I've mentioned before in other podcasts. You got 2 dogs inside of you. What one you choose to feed the most will grow the biggest. And when my friends say, come out and have a drink with me, I said, nah. They said, come on, just have one. Come on. I said, no. The monster's locked away and I just don't feed it. And that's the way that I see it. But think about with addiction, what are you really chasing?
The dopamine hit.
Dopamine hit.
Whoa, that's sick. Like my dancing, party, drugs.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
So it's the excitement that you're chasing, and taking drugs is a funny thing. So I used to inject a lot of different drugs, and mainly speed and cocaine. That's what I used to inject, but every day. And in the end, it got so much, it was just, that's all I did. And the feeling of the lead up is better than actually doing it.
Liv and I were talking about this on the weekend, on Sunday, yeah, because we went to Sydney and we said, she said, I had more fun getting ready and having 2 or 3 drinks with the music playing around the pool with you than I did at the actual thing. And it's true. It's very true.
Yeah, it is. So really you're chasing the feeling. That's what you're chasing. You're not really chasing the drugs in your body and all this sort of stuff. And, I've been hospitalised a number of times from taking too much, like overdoses. I have a near-death experience and all that. I think we talked about that on the podcast. So I've gone right that way, and I think you have too. So, you've been hospitalised, you died on the bed a couple of times, all sorts of things. So you've gone right over that way. What I want to ask you, Jack, is your life better with drugs or without drugs?
Without a doubt.
Is your life better with alcohol or without alcohol?
Without.
Is your life better with porn or without porn?
Without.
So why don't you just have it without?
It's a very simple question. I think it's because you forget how good you feel. You forget how bad it makes you feel me personally, after a few weeks. 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then it gets to that, like, something's on and you're like, oh, no, I shouldn't. I've got like a fair bit of money saved. And then I would literally just go out, forget how bad it makes me feel the worst, spend all the money that I've saved over the last 4 weeks, and then just be in a complete slump and then do it again. It's like this slow climb, and then you forget how bad it makes you feel and drop down again.
What if I said to you, you actually like it? You actually like it. You like feeling crap.
I believe you.
Yeah. What if you do? I reckon I'm an expert on addiction, talking from myself. I've looked at it. I don't think people understand just how far I went with this thing. Like I've destroyed my life a few times along the way with extremeness. You know, even when during real estate, I've relapsed a number of times before. So I see it in all different ways. But, you know, to end up with your life imploding, homeless, all you cared about is injecting drugs. Like, I don't think it gets much lower than that.
No.
I just liked it. I liked it more than a better life. That's what, if I really call it for what it is, that's what it is. It's weak-minded. I'm talking about me. I can't comment on other people. But I reckon addiction is nothing more than being weak-minded.
No self-control, willpower.
You just don't want, you just don't like the feeling of a good life enough. Because if addiction was hereditary, and if addiction was a mental illness of some sort, then why aren't I still addicted to the drugs? If that was really, and you know, people might be listening to this going, oh, that's a bit like rough because my mate over here's got some mental problems and this and that. Like, yeah, I understand. I was like a psychotic maniac. I'm talking a person you walk past in the street and go, that guy looks like he's very unpredictable. I didn't care about anything. I would do anything. I'm telling you, Jaxson, I would do anything. To the point where I think people were just like, saw me as some crazed animal. So what I'm talking about is from experience. I'm not talking about some theory I read in the book. I'm talking about looking back on life going, turning my life around, relapsing, struggling with, we call them demons, like struggling with demons big time, wrecking life again at all cost, getting divorced, going straight back into drugs, you know, partying and use that as some sort of excuse that it's okay because I'm single, you know, that sort of stuff. I reckon addiction is weak-minded, and what I mean is you got to build your muscle, mate. You have to, if you want to, but you got to want it enough. Like you have to want it enough because it's really, really hard. People go, oh, I fell off the wagon again. That's fine. Stop and get back on. But they don't want to. So many people say to me, oh, I should start training again. Well, do it. Why are you talking to me about it? I don't care what you do. You know how many people say that to me?
A lot.
Oh, I should, gee, you know, I should really start going to the gym again. Go. Don't tell me about it. Go. But you're not because you don't want to enough. So don't say it. You know, do it. It's easy to talk about stuff. You know, oh, I'd love to be fitter. Okay, well, good. You can't get fitter talking about it. What do you do in private is what you're really passionate about. I did cardio last night when I got home. I didn't want to do cardio, but I didn't go to the gym during the day. So I'm like, well, I'm getting on here and doing Stairmaster for 40 odd minutes. But I didn't really want to. But that's how much I want it because I did it in private. It doesn't make any difference to your life if I do cardio.
I had no idea if you did or didn't.
I don't talk about it. I'm just here. I'm just like, yeah, okay, well, I did it. That's my commitment to me. So it's really much how much you value your future. Because every choice is creating the path to your future self. And I know I've spoken about that a lot, but that's what it is. You could see someone in 10 years' time and look at them and go, whoa, gee, have you seen them? My goodness. You know, there's a guy that walks around Terrigal at the moment. He's hugely overweight and he's got these legs that are all red and sored and stuff, but he has his shirt off and he walks through the whole streets every day. And I look at him and I'm like, good on you. Because obviously someone said to him, you got to start exercising. And he shuffles. He's a big guy.
I think I've seen.
He's bigger than me.
I've seen him.
Like he's tall and he's got tattoos all down his back. Yeah, he looks like he's had some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he shuffles like this.
Yeah.
Right through the main centre, like no shirt on. He's got his stomach hanging over and he's like, but he looks like he's got a past. And his legs, you know when they're all red and sore and they're like, they're
Bumpy.
swollen and he's had stuff cut out of it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, good on you. You've made a decision. Boom. And he's not going back now. You can see it. And I've watched him for the last few months, and he's shuffling quicker and quicker and quicker now to where he's got like a bit of a quick shuffle going. I saw him at the start and he was almost like, now he's like, and he's focused as. So you're either going to be scared into change one day, or you're going to change because you want to be a different person. That's it. That's it. There's no middle ground there, because if you don't live in a certain way to take care of yourself, you'll be scared into change one day. I guarantee it. And addiction, so if you want more money, is gambling in your wealth creation process.
No, not at all.
Well, you just don't want money enough.
Yeah.
You don't. You're talking out your bum. Because if you want money, a certain amount of money, you'll work real hard, you'll save some, you'll go out every now and then and eat and all that, but you'll make smart decisions with it. So I'm going to blow the genetic thing out of the water right now with addiction. There's not one gambler in my family that I know of, but you're addicted to gambling. So that just blows that out of the water. It's because you want to, Jack.
It's a dopamine hit.
It's a dopamine hit. The best thing to do is replace it.
Yeah.
Because your nature is your nature. It's actually a strength, Jaxson, being an addict. It's a strength. An addict to something, because what you've got is the ability to intensely focus at all cost. At all cost. People write messages to me all the time about, discipline this, discipline that, eat this, eat. No, I'm just a junkie that decided to make better choices. That's all I am. You know, it's the biggest blessing, Jaxson. Because when you decide, you know, imagine deciding not at 50, imagine deciding at 25 that you're going to be the ultra successful version of yourself. Whatever that looks like for you, you've got to design it. It's not what Dad wants. You've got to design it. But imagine you got to a point in life where you go, hang on, what's really possible for your life? You know, I want to get a house paid off. I want to, whatever that looks like for you. I want to travel. I want to this. I want to that. I want to be this version and fitness and like Tommy and this and that. Imagine you had all this and you came up with a bit of a plan for yourself and said, these are the things I really want. Might be just 3 of them. Financially set, look great, have a job that I love, earn a certain amount of income. That's it. Might just be that. And you go, I'm going to set about and achieve that. Then you go, oh, you know what? My willy's sort of tingling at the moment because I want to get on the pokies. Because that's what it is. It starts as a little bit of a thought, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, the pokies. And you start thinking about the pokies and the win. And then you think about that a little bit more. And to put this to the test, start thinking about porn, Jaxson, over the next few days. I'll guarantee you by Saturday you're watching porn. I'll guarantee it. For sure. Because it's thought momentum. It all starts with a thought. It's whether you let it linger or not. So if you don't want something in your life, don't let it linger. Think about something else and give your attention to that. But this is what is the difficult part. It takes time and effort to make the muscle stronger. It's no different than going to the gym. Your mind is a muscle. You've got to practice with it. Practice. You're going to fall off, but practice. I fell off about 800,000 times. But today, I'll never fall off again. But if I didn't fall off that many times before with my mind, I'd still be doing it. If I didn't keep bringing myself back on, dusting myself off, getting back on. So with the gambling, tell me one good thing that comes from it.
Winning.
Okay, how often do you win?
0.01%.
0.01%. That's
Yeah.
That's pretty inspiring to go chuck $1,000 in.
Gambling's only so big when I do drugs and drink.
Oh, there you go.
It's not like I sit there sober.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The gateway.
Yeah.
You got to start understanding what the gateway is. The gateway is a real thing when it comes to addiction. This is why I don't drink. I'll promise you, Jaxson, if I had one drink today, I'd be injecting Coke tonight. Promise you. I'm telling you. It's like every single good thing I've worked in, as soon as I have worked for one drink, I change. Out comes the monster. What am I going to feed? Am I going to feed this mat or that mat? Which one?
That mat.
That mat. I want to feed the ice bath mat.
Yeah.
Because the ice bath mat has a good home life. He's a great person, like focused and driven and all. I don't know if I'm a great person, but I'm the best version of me. I'm successful at work. Even when things aren't going that good and you need resilience, like you can get up the next day, let's go do this thing. I had a friend text me last night. His name's Ty. And he said, there's this, I never knew what stoicism was. And he said, this is you. He goes, I read this in the book, and he took a picture of the book that he was reading and sent the chapter through. And can I read it to you? And he goes, he sent it to me last night just randomly. And it said, he goes, the more I learn about stoicism, the more I realize you are a very strong stoic. Not sure if that's intentional or not. Love you. And in the book it says, when Jared unavoidably by circumstance revert at once to yourself and don't lose the rhythm more than you can help, you'll have a better grasp of harmony if you keep going back to it. So what that means is, keep the rhythm going. Doesn't matter at all costs. Just keep the rhythm going if that's the best thing for you. That's the best thing about being an addict, Jaxson, because you can keep the rhythm going because you've got this thing inside you driving you. But the funny thing when we talk about addiction is we talk about it in a bad way because you relate addiction to gambling. But can't you see? You'll have $1,000 in the bank and you'll put it all on the pokies and go to none. And then you'll be like, and you'll beat yourself up for 3 days and then you'll build it back up again. You'll start feeling good and you go do it again. So the rhythm is that one. What that thing is talking about is now you've just got to create a rhythm in the good area of your life. Name a good rhythm you could do.
Like in general?
Anything.
Walk the dogs.
Walk the dogs. So tell me a good rhythm for the day.
Wake up, walk the dogs, film, edit, train, eat dinner with Liv, go to bed.
Red light bed, sauna.
Red light bed, sauna. Yep.
Perfect day. Rate that day out of 10.
10.
10. Perfect. So you actually know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's a 10 out of 10 Jaxson day for the moment. And that might be a 10 out of 10 day for the next 2 years. But then you'll add stuff to it and change stuff. So 10 out of 10 day. So can I ask, why don't you become addicted to that?
I get bored.
You get bored. That's right. But why?
Because I like going out and doing drugs and drinking.
You like it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because you actually like it. But now you've got to start recognizing the cost. It is fun, Jaxson, having a few beers and having a few lines of coke. It is fun. Putting some money in the pokies. It's fun because you don't have to think about nothing. You're in that moment. Doesn't matter. It's like, I'm just here. Woo! It's actually fun. That's why people get addicted to it. When my dad, when he was drinking, he used to drink a case of beer a night, those twist top things, a case of beer a night. He actually liked it. That's why he did it. My dad used to get so drunk, he'd come put porn on and we'd watch porn in the lounge room with a few of my mates. The weirdest thing ever. It's really weird. And he used to be like, oh, yeah, look, these. And I'd be like sitting there going, 15 years old going, this is like bizarre. But he actually liked it. But can you see the gateway? So what's the gateway, Jaxson? Every addiction or addict on that side, that we'll call it the not so good side, the monster that we need to lock away, has a gateway. Everyone.
Alcohol.
Alcohol is the greatest poison on earth. It will destroy your life. But there's something before the alcohol, Jack.
The thought.
That's exactly right. It's when your muscle grows a bit more, you'll get a thought and you'll be like, Ando's down at the pub and he wants me to come down for a few beers. In that moment, when your muscle gets stronger, you'll actually look at the other side and you'll say, the fun side feels a bit buzzy, like, oh, that'd be great. But then you got to take a step back for a second. This all happens in a matter of seconds. And you go, if I do that, what's the cost? Because when you're got momentum around it, it's too hard to weigh up the cost. because it's like, oh, I'm going to miss out. My mates are down there. There's for sure there's going to be coke down there. You just start running away in your head. It's so hard to stop down there. It's like a car going at 70 kilometres an hour. It's so hard to stop. But if a car starts to just roll, you can just push it and stop it. So what's the gateway and how do you change it?
Stop drinking.
Yeah, but what's the gateway before?
Stop the thought of drinking.
Yeah. And here's what you won't change, Jaxson, until the pain of the cost becomes so great that you don't want it anymore. That's why you won't change. So it could be today. It could be now where you're like, I've had enough. And I'm like, I just don't want the pain anymore. And what happens, Jack, is the pain gets bigger. The future pain gets bigger than the enjoyment of it. That's where I'm at. So I'm like, I used to be like, oh, I just want to stick the needle in my arm and have it. And that override everything. Like everything in life. I have so much track marks on my arms, you can't even see them, but I could show you, I can point them all out. But so much track marks on my arms because I'd sit there for 2 days injecting drugs. Didn't care less about nothing. That was just the most important thing. Now it makes me sick thinking about it. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I don't want to spend one day with a hangover, one day sitting in the room just not wanting to come out, not wanting to speak to people, don't want to call, trying to avoid people, pretending I've got the flu, can't work, all this sort of stuff. Do you see? So until the pain of the cost gets big enough, you won't stop. And so my Siri went off. And the pleasure of doing something better feels way, way more important. So now feeling good every day is the most important thing for me. I don't want to wreck it at all. I don't even want to eat junk food. That's how sensitive I got to the whole thing. I didn't even want a junk food because how do you feel after Macca's or crap? So I look at everything now like, am I operating at the highest frequency? But that's going to take a while for you to get to that. But step by step, what's the first thing that you could do if you really want to start changing?
Stop drinking.
Stop drinking. But you want to be tested at some point.
I got in a month.
In a month?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
I've got a cousin, James.
Yeah.
His birthday party in Newcastle.
Okay.
October the 5th.
Are you going to go?
I feel like I have to go. But
well, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
What I say about environment.
Being around it. But it's their environment's very different to like it's not like drugs, this, that. I was thinking of taking a live, going for an hour and driving home.
Doesn't matter. What I would do, and this is up to you. You've got to create your path. I'd say, James, I love you. I really want to be there, but I'm trying to stop drinking. Why don't we go for a bite to eat sometimes different? I just don't want to go up and put myself in that environment. That's when you really, really don't want to do it. You might go and you might get out of it okay, and you might be like, yeah, that's fine. However, there'll be another time. I just don't go I don't go to bars and things like this. I just don't. I say to people, I don't go. It's not my thing. So that depends on how much you want it though. Because there's a great thing about drug addicts. If you hang around a drug addict long enough, what will you become?
Drug addict.
Environment's important. Really important.
For sure.
What do you value more? Your future clean self or the risk of an environment?
Depends what time of day you ask me. Right now, the risk. I don't know. My clean self.
Clean self.
I feel like we should check back in a month.
Yeah, we will.
After in this and then see how.
But are you going to go?
Gone. No.
Are you going to go there?
Haven't decided yet. I don't think so.
I personally wouldn't. But it's your life. It's up to you. I'm going to tell you a quick story about a truck driver. There's a truck driver, a guy was advertising for a truck driver. The first guy comes in and says, I'm the best truck driver in the world. You know this story. I think I've told you before. No? I'm the best truck driver in the world. I am so good. When I drive around and I'm driving on a road and it's got a cliff next to it, I can drive and I've got my tyre hanging just over the edge, but I don't lose any loads. I am such a good truck driver. There's no one better out there than me. The next guy comes in for a job and goes, I'm the best truck driver in the world. I am so good. I think I am a standout all over the world. No one comes close to me. I can drive with half of my axle hanging over the cliff, going around the corner, and drive at a speed that's like pretty fast. I never lose a load. I'm so skilled. I'm amazing. I'm the best truck driver. Employ me. The third guy comes in and says, I'm the best truck driver in the world. I drive in the middle of the road. I don't go near the side of the cliff. I drive at a really safe speed and I get around. I never have any problems at all. Who's the best truck driver?
The last one.
The last one. I reckon, Jaxson, while you're trying to build this muscle, you have to think carefully about your thoughts, but also don't be the truck driver that, sure, you might get around the corner and your wheel might be hanging over. But what's the chance of something maybe not happening right?
Very high.
Very high. I think when you're where you're at now, you can set yourself up in the next 5 years to live the life that you want in the best possible way. And I don't think anything beats a clean life. Nothing. There's no amount of alcohol that will make you happy. No amount of alcohol that will make you successful. It actually do the opposite. It all depends on how much you want something. That's really the number one thing, because whatever you're going to build takes work and effort if it's a good thing, but you can spend the same amount of time wrecking your life as well. It's just a choice. So I don't think addiction is anything else than making a choice in the moment. And sure, you feel good when you're having a few beers, but what's the cost to that?
Feeling like crap.
Feeling like crap. And I have a saying that I live by now. You want it, you'll do it. So if you really want the best life possible, you'll do it. And just because you fall off sometimes doesn't mean that's okay. You're learning. It's like Summer walking. She falls over more than she walks. But at some point, you're going to get a bit of a stride going. When you get that stride going, really start to value it, because it's all about momentum. When you got the momentum flowing, you want to keep the momentum going. That's why your daily 10 out of 10s is so important, because you're going to keep fueling that momentum. So imagine, and you just set little markers up for yourself. Imagine you went a month, no drink, no whatever. Do you think you'd have a bit of a momentum going?
Definitely.
That's right. And you're going to get faced with a choice at some point when it's really, really going to be inviting for you to go out and have a few drinks and have a gamble and all that sort of stuff. There's going to be many of those times. But I think just like the truck driver, you can go, but you're going to have your wheels hanging over the edge. You will. And at some point, you're not going to hold the steering wheel properly.
Then I'll be gone.
Yeah. And you're going to make that choice. It's easier to make it earlier than later. So as it comes, you got to weigh it up and say, is it going to help my future or take away? It doesn't mean you can't have fun. But I don't think alcohol is fun. I think it's a poison. We're sitting here talking about alcohol. You have a brother that's dead because of alcohol. I have a dad that's dead because of alcohol. I've got a sister and she's got a son. Well, the son wasn't from alcohol, but it was a flow-on from the mum. If alcohol wasn't involved in any of those, they'd all still be here, all of them. So you're sitting here with me now, and I have to say I'm very proud of you, because for you to jump on here and talk about this, such a deep thing, is I think you're headed in the right direction. Yeah, and as your dad, I'm right here for you. But the next choice that you make, the next one that's difficult, I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about, who do you want Jaxson to be? Is it the alcohol-induced Jaxson, or is it the 10 out of 10, had a great day, behind the camera, light bed, sauna, this and that? And do you want to wake up the next day fresh, or do you want to wake up the next day with a hangover? And a hangover is nothing more than your body in stress. Do you want a sick Jaxson, or do you want a fantastically happy, bubbly Jaxson?
Number two.
Number two. I know one thing will come from that. If you wake up with the happily, bubbly, fresh Jaxson every day and do that day after day after day, you will find the best version of you and your life will follow. That's a promise from me, Jake.